Good afternoon. My name is Anna Klimach, and I came from University of Warmia and Mazury in Northern Poland. Today, I would like to introduce to you some of our research. This is not the whole research because right now we are checking how the INSPIRE Directive can be used in different administration procedures. Our aim for this research is to check if our Polish land administration system can be used for a purpose of selling, buying agricultural real estate. When I'm talking about real estate, I would like to show you how much these estates we've got in Poland. So it's about 16 millions of hectares in Poland. Most of these real estates are owned by private people, individual farmers. And the other, there is a state treasure real estates. Some companies own agriculture real estates. Some of these estates are used for not only food, but when they are in land use plans or in cadastre, they are mentioned as agriculture. They are shown in this data. Why this presentation? Why this research? Because of INSPIRE Directive in Poland, we've got a land administration system, and in this land administration system, we've got many registers, and they are shown in here. Some of these registers are quite new in our land administration system. For example, Central Register of Nature Conservatory sites. It's quite new. We've got this in this land administration this year. Some of these registers are going to shown because they are not put in land administration. And also our Polish land administration system isn't finished right now because the second phase of this of land administration is going to end in November. So then we will have land administration after second base. So then we can really see if it's working or not, because land administration isn't the name that is used in Poland. We call this system integrated real estate information system, and also our acts and our name as integrated real estate information system. So if you are interested and you want to find, you need to check for erase. So and then you can see different kind of registers. Some of these registers are in Polish and in English, so it's easy to see data, to see information. Some not. And even if you have in your website translator, it's very difficult to translate from Polish to English or to different languages. Some of these registers are open to citizens, some not. Some are only open for administration, for some kind of public authorities that can use some data from these registers. For example, tax register. It can be used for tax authorities, but not for citizens, for us. Our Go portal is quite, I think it's quite good to use. So if you are interested, also I think it's very good to see this, but only in Polish. But I think 1 or 2 months ago, we received to our GeoPortal all information about waters, like lakes, rivers, floats, everything is in GeoPortal. And what now? When INSPIRE Directive was made and was implemented to our to Polish legal system, were made some changes in acts, in regulations. So that's why we were able to make our land administration system and gather all the data or the information about land, about citizens, about everything that is necessary for land administration. Why I and my friends were checking the usefulness of this land administration system for agriculture, because of big changes in 2016. In 2016, our agricultural law was changed, and was changed very drastically. And also we received new organs like the National Support Center of Agriculture. What changed? Changed the way you buy or sell your land. If you want to buy agricultural land, you need to receive, most of the people, most of the citizens need to receive decision, administrative decision. And if you want to sell a land to a person who is not a farmer, who is not your family, you also need to receive decision, administrative decision to sell this land. But I think it's quite interesting, but when you want to sell your agricultural land and you can't find a buyer because no one wants to buy your land, the National Support Center of Agriculture can buy. They need to buy your land. If you tell them, I want to sell, nobody wants to buy, they need to buy your land. Why this changes? Because in 2016 it was 12 years after we entered United European Union, and some laws for us changed. So we changed this agricultural law for why? Because we didn't want people from different countries to buy our land, and we didn't want for companies to buy our land to, I don't know, build a farm or build some kind of companies, big companies. So what next? If you want to buy, sell your land, you need to give some documents to the National Center of Support of Agriculture, and this is this documents that you need to provide for this center. For example, that you want to establish a family farm. When you buy this land, you wouldn't have over 300 hectares. So these documents need to be made. And during our research, we asked this national center what kind of data they need. So they provided us with data that they need to make this administrative decision. And here you can see the data that they need to make this decision. And we checked, and all of this data is in our land administration system. So if this center want to make a decision, want to give their decision for somebody, they don't have to find this data anywhere. They only need to go to land administration system to erase and take this data. What else? We asked the National Support Center of Agriculture if they have their own system, and they told us that they have their own system. And if you can see, in their system they've got more data that is provided by ERAs. Some of this data, when you've got minus and plus, right now maybe you can put plus, because for 1 week in Go Portal you could find all this data, geological data. Right now, I don't know why, but this information isn't in Go Portal, but there was. So they've got more data that ERAs, and what is not so good, I think it's not good, that they can give their data to ERAs, to national system, because there is no law for them to provide this data that they store to give it more and to land administration. Before changes, before 2016, if the National Support Center of Agriculture, then they've got a different name, want to collect some data, they need to check many of registers. Right now, they only need to check one. What else is very good, that if you want to provide information about property that is in different municipality in different region of Poland, you don't need to go there, you don't need to ask them to give you data, you only need to go to your computer and check. So I think it's the most, when you are going to check some notary data, like who is the owner of the property, you don't need to go to the court and check this data. So what's our conclusion? That we believe that if you've got one big national land administration system that provides whole data that you need for any administration procedure, it's very good for people, for citizens, as well as for the administration, because the procedure can be shorter, and you don't need to generate a lot of data. You don't need to store data in your database, in a database that is in tax register or some different databases. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Erik van Kapelleveen. I'm here on behalf of 3 organizations: Geonovum, COPE, the Exploitation Center of Official Governmental Publications, and at Cadastre, which is the cadastral organization of the Netherlands. It's a combination of those 3 parties who are working on the new IPA, so legislation on and the digital infrastructure which is supporting that new law. And I will tell you something about this law and the things we encounter when making this whole new system and infrastructure, and especially the standards for that. This morning, my colleague of Cadastre, Arie Duindam, told you something about the provision of a new innovative data set, and his major message was, we are building a new data set which is enriched and which has a lot of possibilities for bringing the data about planned land use and the environment on a level in which people can just click on a map or just find it by a text search. But they can also find it by any other themes. And whilst building this complete system, which we are doing right now, we started in 2013, and we're planning to bring it into use in 2021. So we take a lot of time building this complete infrastructure. And I will tell you how to cope with INSPIRE whilst developing this integral system. So let's see what happens when we are trying to work on this Environmental Planning Act, because there was when it started. They wanted to build a new law in which a lot of segments and domains like noise, like plant use, agricultural, water, traffic, etc., everything which is important when building a system on which you want to plan the use of the environment is in it. So they said, well, let's try. Let's make some new paradigms, because the old law in the Netherlands was, they tell you when you can do something, and otherwise it's forbidden. And it's very complex, like the former speaker from Poland told us. There's a lot of laws and a lot of things which you have to combine and just look where to find. They want to make a radical change in that and say we do one-stop shopping. There's one place which you can find all the data. And in such a way that you can find it either by the map, by just clicking the map, or otherwise checking the rules, because you are a lawyer, for instance, and you do not have mapping is not the way you think. You want to see it in a full text search, and you want to see it on legal aspects, and you want to find it on a legal database. So the idea was simply better. And simply better means more simple. So complex, get rid of it. And the other one was better, because more quality and more consistency in all the data and all the terms which we use. The second thing was we want to do an integration of 26 laws. So basically, the last 5 years, the lawyers were very busy because they had to integrate it. They succeeded in something like 18 laws now, and they're making additional laws which complete the Environmental Act. Next thing is better alignment, because these laws should not have any rules which are opposite in formulation or vague, because you don't know what to do. It must be predictable what the government wants you to do or not to do. There's a necessity that you have a change of attitude. It was formerly, you can do it, but, and now it should be, it is possible if you meet the following requirements. So all laws and thinking of people has to be changed. Should be more space for local policy. So the government, the central government, is taking some steps back and say, okay, we will give you basic laws, but all detail should be done on local circumstances by local politicians. That's what we want to create. And digital will prevail above analog. So papers and maps which are not digital, within the courtroom, the digital will prevail. So the old stuff, get rid of it, because you must not use it anymore. Which of course brings all kinds of questions about data quality, about terms, about consistency, etc. Okay, so that's the environment in which we had to work. And last of, which is not the least thing, is they wanted more cooperation. And it tells you all government bodies should bring all their data in one system. And it should be consistent. Okay, if that's a challenge, let's try to make such a digital information system. So basically, integration paradigms, building new core spatial legislation, and then change the rules, change the working methods and the attitude of the workers, because they have to think the other way. And, of course, change the ICT applications and the whole complete infrastructure. Standards are about, well, most of these things, because you have to combine it some way or the other. So basically, the changes in the law directed the changes in the standards, because we had 10 years ago, we built a standard, the IMRO standard, in which we could build digital plans and which could retrieve them, and it was all geo-object based, so we could do that. But now we had to make a link between the implementation, which is also about the law, the legislations, the regulations. So it should combine both worlds. And it should be possible within the infrastructure which we had to adapt it so that they can build it. So they said, okay, let's keep the system with the original plans, digital plans for planning land use. Let's keep that for the whole period in which we will migrate, and let's create a situation where the new systems will fade in. So fade in, and once the whole system is complete, fade out. That was our strategy. But of course, all these things have interrelations. And then we have to cope with INSPIRE, which basically tells us about something about the standards and tells us something about the infrastructure, which is you should meet these regulations. That was already done in the Netherlands with the old system, but now we had to do it on a larger scale because all the environmental issues were imported as well. Soil, and that kind of thing, agriculture, etc. So, we made something like this. And this is a concept information model which tells not everything, but something about how we did it. So at the top we have the legal rule, in which and lawyers define that as a text element, in which a combination of text will give us an idea about which rule will apply there. Where should this rule apply? Well, somewhere on a location, but we needed some extra entities like function, like activity, like restrictions, and like standards and values to know which rule should apply its which area, with which value. So we built something like this, and there is a possibility within the system to use these things, not obligatory, but on a basis of you want to do it or you don't want to do it. So the lawmaker says, well, you have to define legal rules, you have to define a location, so we can find always where a rule applies, but you're not obliged to bring in the functions, the activities, the restrictions, and the standards and the values. That's Dutch law, because they wanted more simple, more flexibility. But if you want to map that with INSPIRE, you meet a situation in which INSPIRE wants some data, but our Dutch law says it's not necessary to do it. But if you have it, then you have to provide it, of course. So that's the way we think we can manage with it. Okay, let's see. So basically the law of IPA and the law of GPA, and that's something new, the General Publication Act, tells all that's an act in which a digital publication of every change in the law must be processed to a certain system and must be made available for every citizen, so that they can see which law will apply where. So we're changing the law on environment and on land use, but we're changing the law on publication of governmental laws as well. So we had to combine those two. So we built the STOP scheme, which is a general system for the General Publication Act, and we had to combine that with another scheme, the application scheme. So TP means application scheme for the Environmental Act. And they are a subset of the basic scheme, which brings some complexity in defining all the entities, because you have to meet two laws. The one is influenced by Europe, the other one is not influenced by Europe. So we have some translation issues. But we made the basic thing rule and location. We know that always. And so we were able to say, okay, if that's the basic, we must change one thing more. Yes, we must change one thing more. We want to do it by changes. So not one document for a plan, but always a data set with changes. And you can change the plan every moment, and then a new plan has been born. So it's change-driven, completely, which implies that we had to change both the way we publish text as the way we publish the geodata. And you can see that it like this. So for instance, this is the standard way of showing planned land use, but we had to cope with the possibilities so that it can show it that way, because within the municipality council, they wanted to express some areas. So we built a symbolization table in which you can basically tell which type of symbols you are using based on symbol library, and then you can make these kind of flexible presentations. Last, which I will tell, because otherwise the time is finished, is something about the text, which is in the legal documents, and where we can annotate all kinds of keywords, permits, records. So we bring more information within these kind of rules, and we can combine them with the geometry, so you can make all kinds of queries on these entities as well. So my message is how do we cope with INSPIRE? Well, basically, we're mapping attributes in the models. That's the first thing. We started by using the ideas of INSPIRE. The second thing is that we are aligning presentation by domain preferences, which are derived from INSPIRE regulations. We're using PDOK, which is the INSPIRE hub in the Netherlands, for all kinds of things. And last, we use, of course, the service requirements. But basically, our message is coping with INSPIRE is best done by using its principles and mapping it into attributes, because that's the way we think we can solve it. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the INSPIRE Conference organizations for giving us the opportunity to share our local experience in the Comunitat Valenciana. And actually, we are harvesting some of the efforts that we have done in the last time. In the Comunitat Valenciana, the number of projects based on INSPIRE has increased thanks to the efforts made, the time passed, and these factors. We have more regional legislation support. It's not enough, but it is starting to exist. Of course, we have the European and national legislation frame, but it's very important that in the local legislation to have that support, because are the documents that the technicians use every day. We have also that the SDI is continuously increasing the number of services and downloads available for free and the thematic applications. We have the SDI, it has become a daily tool for most of the technicians, mainly the public technicians that use the SDI for reports, evaluations, and territory planning, among others. And this also is used by the private technicians, especially for the ones that work in consulting companies. Due to the digital administration evolution, an increase of users exists. We have made more friendly our website, and that makes in turn that more people that is not used to use SDI is using the SDI. And besides, the professional users have a greater knowledge of INSPIRE. Actually, university students study the SDI in different colleague careers as cartography, geography, tourism, or forestry. Today, I'm going to highlight just the projects that are based on data that is conformed with INSPIRE. And for our community, these are geographical names and transport network. So, of these projects, of this data, I'm going to start by geographical names. So, geographical names is very used in many projects as a base layer of location. And here we can see views of business parks of the Comunitat Valenciana. These projects contribute to the generation of a balanced industrial development. Associated with transport networks, the efforts that has been made to obtain an homogeneous and standardized data is regarded. And these are some of the projects that we have. We have the official railway catalog, the task of transport planning and infrastructure, urban planning Valencian, and also the non-motorized network of the Valencian region. This project promotes the sustainable mobility, defining a global cycle pedestrian network, and the project consists in the inventory of the actual net, project a new one, and is going to obtain a catalog. And another project related with the education sector is that one that is used for calculating transport scholarship for a school that is based on geographical names and the transport networks. In the private sector, I will highlight the Real Academia de Escalona irrigation project, a GIS application for irrigation ditch management. In the private sector, we are aware of the increase of use the SDI, but we don't know in concrete most of them. In order to provide a wider idea of our projects in the Comunitat Valenciana, I'm going to share very briefly our experience with Copernicus. Since 2015, we have created a repository of images derived from Sentinel-2 with 5 days frequency. And we publish one map every 3 months. These images are used for photo interpretation, and is the most used for burn areas. We publish also in the social network images of the burn areas that has been obtained with Sentinel-2. We project to develop more projects using radiometric analysis and detection of changes in the territory, and we are also interested in participating in Copernicus Academy and Geo4Geo. And related with Galileo, we project to increase the number of stations with Galileo support in our territory. And these are some of the examples of our evolution. And thanks to INSPIRE, we have been able to meet unpredictable challenges. Unique homogeneous themes, interoperability, open data that provides a huge economic save, catalogs that allow to find out the available information, and a wider number of services. However, there are more projects than expected and less contributions, which are fundamental to develop and to enlarge the project. And why? Possibly because the lack of INSPIRE, the lack of knowledge of INSPIRE, it's still not well known, its opportunities and obligations. It's more known in the public sector than in the private sector. A lack of support guidelines, political commitment is needed due that the project budget and the priorities are defined by them. So a special dissemination campaign, it could be very good for them. All data mentality, a change in the cultural way of thinking is needed. To be open to share data and efforts, understanding that the contributions to the project will bring lots of benefits. Also, we have a lack of technicians to develop the project, so training programs are still very necessary for public technicians, professional associations, and university. Complex schemes. The schemes and symbology of the data are converted to the local cartography, which is the one that the users demand. And language, because nowadays most of the technicians prefer to work in Spanish because they control better the meaning of the definitions. and non-coordinating local nodes. It's fundamental, the contribution of the local nodes to update the information, and actually it's not coordinated. So the potential of the INSPIRE is vast, and all we know. The way to obtain more projects, develops, and services includes the increase of georeferencing systems, and it could come from the new combinations of layers for analysis and statistics. And it could be given by professionals of different disciplines to ours, and from new generation of professionals. These professionals can give us a new vision of dealing with the georeferences data, new vision about the combination, interests, and future projects. And what can we do to get a new vision? I think that we have to demonstrate the potential. We mustn't lose the impetus. We have to keep training and using attractive disseminations campaigns and improving our communication. We have to be able to explain our project to from different ages, from different level of education, professionals, profile, or interest. It's important to use easy understanding manuals, brochures, videos, different, depending on the message to be done and the target addressee. For this system, to avoid the lack of time, creativity, and resources, it could be very useful to create free platforms to share editable information. For example, in the INSPIRE website. And to listen to users through surveys. Our national node is doing very well with that. And also doing more workshops and using social networks, or even organizing project competitions to know how people use our data, to be able to give them what they need. And of course, to bring their ideas to life. It's important to be updated for choosing the best option. So to conclude, I will say that in the present we are harvesting some of the fruits of our effort. In the future, we all know that there is vast possibilities, but however, we need more time. We are moving in the right direction, even though the implementation is slower than we thought. So we have to be keeping training and listening to the users, and to enlarge the applications. So just to finish, I would like to really invite you to visit our Comunitat, la Comunidad Valenciana, and thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Nicholas Hagemann. I share this presentation with my colleague Katja Hilgert. We are from the Coordination Office of the Spatial Data Infrastructure of Germany. And I would like to spend the next 10 minutes with you on to tell you how we try to support the use of INSPIRE data in Germany via a small application that we developed on top of our GeoPortal. And I will give a short introduction, a quick overview, setting the scene, and then I will hand over to my colleague Katja to show you in detail our nice little application. So, setting the scene, what is it? We started this year with our project, and we had our reasons to do so. We were watching at the INSPIRE situation in 2018, and we found out that when you look at the monitoring, the annual monitoring, that we have more resources available in INSPIRE than ever before. I mean, I'm not going into detail here. You all know these graphs probably from the annual monitoring. There's a session this afternoon on this, on the results of the monitoring. So what I just want to point out here is that we have more data sets than ever before, more services than ever before. The number of services even doubled in comparison to 2016. So we have a lot of data available now. And when you look at the deadline we had last year in November for Annex 1, that means that we not only have data available, we have interoperable data available. Of course, these are just a few indications. We have the indicators, the accessibility to data is getting better. The situation all in all, the infrastructure, the architecture is getting better. So we have everything available that users should be able to use INSPIRE. But as you all know, we have often this kind of gap. We have this hot topic, INSPIRE use and uses. And I mean, this is not a new topic. It's very present for many years. For example, at this conference, we have a whole strand which is called INSPIRE the users. So there seems to be a gap between the INSPIRE data providers, the data in INSPIRE, and the users. Another example, just to mention two major events, is a workshop from Ken from UGeographics and EURSDR in November, which focuses on the use of INSPIRE. Another example on the issue that we have a lack of users is, in my opinion, the thematic viewer. You probably know about it. There's another presentation on the conference on the thematic viewer, which tries, beneath other things, tries to bring the data in INSPIRE closer to the user to make it more user-friendly. And this is the point where we start with our Map of the Month application. We also try to bring the data closer to the user on a much smaller scale than a thematic viewer, and therefore we use our GeoPortal. And the starting point is our GeoPortal. It's the central access point to the data and services of the STI Germany. We all know GeoPortals. And the GeoPortal.de is one of our national technical components where all the data from our federal states, from our data providers, are harvested and collected, and they are all present in the GeoPortal.de. When we started our Map of the Month, we already had some experience with thematic maps and an old concept of Map of the Month. We tried already in 2016 to establish thematic maps, Map of the Month, where we presented some up-to-date topics, some interesting topics to users, just to attract users to the data that we have in our STI. We had current topics, but the maps were static. The maps were prepared. We did not use services. So no view services were used for new developed maps. And with this background, we said, okay, we need a new concept, our new Map of the Month. And it is an application that is built on top of the GeoPortal. That means that we are not just presenting the harvesting results, but we have an application that uses information from the metadata to visualize in a monthly map. The motto of our new map is Inspire the Users, where we use preferably Annex 1 themes to present to the users. And we were asking the questions here, which of the INSPIRE spatial data sets and services are already in use. So the data providers can present maps here that are already in use that can serve as best practice, for example, where already use cases for the INSPIRE data exist. This is a possibility. And the map answers the question, how can interested users get in touch with them? This is the access point, the entrance to the data behind it. And we also focused on the question, how can the STI Germany support public awareness? How can we spread the word of INSPIRE? And at this point, this is like a turning point. Up to now, we only harvested the data, and they were all available just in the catalog. But at this point, we use the information from the metadata to present it. And it turned out that this is quite a challenge if you just use the existing procedure. And it already showed that sometimes it may be hard to inspire the users with the INSPIRE data. And with this in mind, I would like to hand over to my wonderful colleague Katja to show you the details of our Map of the Month.
Thank you. Okay, now I want to show you more details about our Map of the Month. This is a screenshot of the current map. And as Nicolas said already, we now focus on INSPIRE services that are already available. So this existing data enables a fast response to current events. And here you can see the water tapping locations of our federal state Brandenburg. And this is the topic map because there have been a lot of forest fires in the last few months. And what the new features of this INSPIRE focus is that we have on the top, next to the map, the hint map of the month. And then we have the title that it's out of the metadata element. And the description of the map is out of the metadata element abstract. Then we have a short disclaimer and a link to the point of contact. And then, of course, a reference to the new INSPIRE focus. And this is the new concept that is shown on our homepage. Okay, so how does this realization process work? First, every month, one of our contact points can nominate one of the most appealing or one of the best examples of an INSPIRE view service. And as Nicolas said already, we prefer a view service from Annex 1, but it's not obligated. And the second step is that we check everything. We have a look if it's really an INSPIRE service, is it available, we look at the legend, and then we give it back to the contact point. And the contact point has the chance to optimize this view service. And then when everything is all right, we publicated it on our homepage on the geoportal.de. Yeah, and as you can see on this slide already, it seems to be something like a quality control. And this was one of the really main positive side effects that we recognized. We have recognized 4 aspects of quality improvement. One of them is the presentation. So a lot of view services were improved. For example, the symbols, the colors, or the legend. Another aspect is the metadata, because I showed you that the teaser next to the map, there we show the title and the abstract out of the metadata. So the data holder at least improves these elements. And one data holder opened their access rights that we can show this view service on our homepage. And even one data holder changed the software to ensure higher performances. Yeah, so our first sum up after 7 months of the map of the month with the new INSPIRE focus is that we recognize that the minimum requirements of the INSPIRE conformity does not make a view service automatically user-friendly, but the services were appealing maps on the homepage, so it's a really good advertisement for the SDI Germany. And another point is that the publication awakens the ambition of the data provider to show their best examples of the view services. Besides this, the map of the month encourages the examination with the INSPIRE data and services, and it causes interest for INSPIRE in general. So our sum up is that the map of the month facilitates the start of using INSPIRE, and we can say that this concept is a kind of quality insurance for INSPIRE view services, because we can use it as a tool to improve the quality. So now you hopefully ask yourself where you can find us, or you can follow the map of the month. We publish it regularly, of course, on our geoportal.de, on our website. We do a press report, or you can follow us on Twitter. And we try to show it on lectures and contributions in journals or on events like the INSPIRE conference, of course. So thank you so much for your attention, and hopefully see you soon on geoportal.de.
So I guess I have to start with explaining what the abbreviation ITS means. Maybe not everybody knows that. It's an abbreviation for Intelligent Transport Systems, which is quite interesting for us in the Public Roads Administration. And this week it's also the ITS World Conference in Copenhagen, and I will actually be giving about the same presentation there in a couple of days. So this is kind of a rehearsal. Or maybe it's the other way around. Okay. The ITS equipment for road users depend on geospatial knowledge from a variety of sources. Commercial map providers like TomTom and HERE, and also car manufacturers, have provided datasets for route planning and navigation for many years. And modern vehicles include a lot of a range of sensors and are able to create their own maps of the surroundings. And they are also able to share this information with other road users and with the map providers. And also, of course, the mapping agencies can provide base maps, updated and detailed base maps for use in the ITS equipment. But the main authoritative source for legal navigation in a network are the road authorities that set the restrictions for legal navigation. And the road authorities maintain what we can refer to as static information, such as speed limits, weight restrictions, turning restrictions, and also dynamic data like events like accidents, road closures, weather conditions, and so on. And in addition, road authorities are also likely to have information about new roads before the road opens in CAD or BIM systems, and also for more rural areas where fewer vehicles have traveled. So the information from the road authorities is a main authoritative source for legal and possible and safe navigation in a road network. The ITS equipment need to combine the information from all of these sources into the geospatial knowledge needed for legal and safe navigation in the network. And to be able to do this, each source have to provide information in a way that the equipment can understand, both in terms of what the data means and also in terms of the location references provided. So, and for this purpose, standardization and harmonization is, of course, a crucial element. And that's the scope of this presentation, to look into how standardization can provide or can contribute to this information flow from the road authorities to the road users. So the first step is to look into what standardization actors exist and what standards have they developed or are working on. In our domain, GIS, of course, we have the ISO TC211 technical committee, and in the ITS domain, we have a similar committee called ISO TC204. And also here in Europe, we have CEN and ETSI developing official European standards, and we have, of course, the INSPIRE data specifications. In addition to this, as many of us know, we also have OGC in the GIS domain, and we have similar actors in the ITS domain, like TomTom is creating standards, something called navigation data standards is also a player in this area. And of course also the BIM standards, in particular the IFC standard created by ISO TC59 and Building Smart is relevant for this. But the scope of this presentation is on the official international and European standards developed by TC211, TC204, and CEN TC278. An important foundation for interoperability between information models is to have a common way of modeling the real world. And the most used language, which we also use in our domain, is the Unified Modeling Language developed by the Object Management Group. In combination with model-driven architecture known as MDA. And the core of MDA is to develop conceptual models that are independent of implementations. And then you can derive implementation models from these conceptual models instead of starting with the implementations. The standardization work in ISO TC211, as many of us know, is based on these principles. With the UML profile in ISO 19103 and rules in 19109. Other ISO TC211 standards are based on these rules and this profile, and they are maintained in a common harmonized UML model where concepts from one standard is reused in other standards. If we look at the ITS world, then we see that there are a couple of standards series that have their own UML profiles, and several standards are using UML to model information, but they are not based on a common UML profile for all ITS standards, and they do not have a harmonized model either, like we have in the TC211 world. If we look at location referencing, we can say that one real-world location can be described with several location references. This can be based on different location referencing systems and different location referencing methods. As we know, it's not enough to just provide a pair or a triple of coordinates. You need to know also the location referencing system and the location referencing method that these coordinates are within. And the standards in this study describe several location referencing methods and unfortunately, they also describe the terms location and location referencing in different ways. We do not have time here to go into each of these location referencing methods, but they include geometry, what we know as coordinates on a map, location by identifier like addresses, linear referencing along road networks, dynamic location referencing like Agora C and OpenLR from TomTom, and also a new standard for lane level location referencing is under development in ISO TC204, which will probably be important for autonomous driving in the future. If we look at the European specifications that are relevant for this area, we see that, or we know that the INSPIRE data models and implementation schemas are based on the ISO TC211 principles and model-driven architecture. INSPIRE transport networks include a network model and network properties that can be related to the network through linear referencing based on the principles from ISO 19148. There is also a specification called TNITS that has a scope on delivering changes on road information from road authorities to map providers like TomTom and here. This specification is also based on TC211 principles, and it includes several location referencing methods, among them linear referencing that can be related to INSPIRE transport networks. Also, the DATEX2 series of standards that are more focused on dynamic data like events and accidents and road closures, weather conditions and so on. That series of standards is based on its own specific UML profile. It's not created according to ISO TC211 standards. It includes some of the same location referencing methods as TNITS, but it's based on some different principles. So what we have seen is that there are several actors that are developing standards for geospatial road-related information, and they are developing many of the standards in silos. independent of related or overlapping standards. They are using UML in different manners. There is a lack of a common harmonized model, both within the ITS domain and as a combination of the ITS and GIS domains. We also see that there are different exchange formats being used, and also in the ITS domain we see that there is some differences between the models that are created and the actual implementation formats. For location referencing, of course, the different methods is a source of error, because you have to transform the different location references into a common understanding of the situation around the vehicle, which leads us to some questions around accuracy related to such transformations. Furthermore, many road authorities and mapping agencies, most mapping agencies probably, maintain their data in systems based on ISO TC211 standards. The lack of interoperable standards in the ITS domain or in the combination of the ITS and GIS domain is challenging, both for the providers of the information and for the receivers of the information. For example, for the TNITS and the ATEX2 specification that I mentioned, you have different services that they need to implement, both on the provider side and on the receiver side, even though both the providers and the receivers are the same authorities or companies. So, looking at some conclusions, the overall conclusion is that the lack of cooperation and common modeling rules, both between the domains and within the ITS domain, has led to challenges for interoperability and for information exchange. And 6 recommendations have been identified. There is need for a closer collaboration between the actors, and ISO TC204 and ISO TC211 has established a joint task force to collaborate on standardization in the future on standards that are of common interest for the two domains. However, for existing standards, there is a need to look into if we can establish common harmonized UML models based on MDA principles through transformation of UML profiles and of UML models. And from these models, we can derive implementation schemas in formats like GML, JSON, and GeoPackage. Also, looking into if linked data and semantic web technologies can be a possible way of combining the models instead of transforming them is an interesting approach to look more into. And like I said, the location referencing transformations and accuracy questions related to that is also something that needs further studies. And finally, like I said early on, there are also other standards like the navigation data standard that should also be studied and compared with other standards. So I believe that's it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I was wondering when you speak about this common harmonized UML data model, because I wonder from my part, is it possible to have this common harmonized model that fit for all the purpose? Because probably that the different standards has different use in mind, different use cases, and when I look to this, I would say that's not possible. You have your own UML and you try to have some interoperability between them, so to exchange the data. So your solution is to strengthen this harmonization. It's your own conclusion. So for me, it's questioning about this, because I wonder if we can find the suitable harmonized UML that can fit for all the use cases.
Thank you. That's a very good question. I think that one of the strengths of ISO TC211 standards is that they are conceptual. And you have very generic conceptual models at the bottom. And it's all about geospatial information. So you are absolutely right that it's different views, different use cases for the information, but there is a common core that it is geographic information that you need to relate to the Earth somehow. So well, I'm not saying that the solution is to create harmonized model. I say that it should be studied if it's possible.
Oh, can I conclude that you are looking to a simplification, more generic level than when we have already done at the different standard? Something of a common root, some things like that.
Yeah, well, that's one of the weaknesses, as I consider it, in some of the standards, that they have started on the implementation level instead of starting at the core general feature level, like the ISO 211 standards. So you have to re-engineer them into a more core, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Marcin Grudzień. I will give you a short presentation about the project that we currently have in Poland called CAPAP, or how we pronounce it, CAPAP. And I would like to tell you what we did within the project to make the spatial information more popular. So this is the agenda. My presentation, maybe skip it and go straight to the point. For those of you who don't know me, I'm representing the head office of Geodesy and Cartography, which is basically Polish National Mapping and Catastrophe Authority. And we, as an authority, as an organization, are strongly related to INSPIRE, because we are basically responsible for coordination of INSPIRE implementation in Poland. And we, as an organization, are also directly responsible for harmonization of data sets for 15 INSPIRE thematic categories. So what's the CAPAP? CAPAP is a Polish abbreviation for Spatial Analysis Center of Public Administration. But the title of the project can be deceiving, because CAPAP does not only focus on spatial analysis. The scope of the project is much wider. And it's not only dedicated for the public administration, it's also, or first of all, dedicated for citizens and for business sectors. And more information on the project, of course, you can find on our website. There are 4 main CAPAP goals, but I'm not going to describe them in detail. Basically, the idea is to increase utilization, improve the accessibility, improve quality and interoperability, and increase user awareness related to the spatial information, spatial data services. The goal is very, very ambitious, because so that we need a budget. We need a huge budget. And the budget of the project is it's over here. It's like 22 million euros. So it's quite impressive, at least for our organization. But for the part I will be talking in my presentation, we have like 6 million euros. So this is a part that is related to building application, e-services, tools for making the information, special information, more popular. Project is co-financed with the European Regional Development Fund money. The project started in November 2015. It will finish in November 2018. So we like finishing things. We are doing currently a lot of quality tests, things like that. And we plan to publish all the deliverables of the project online by the end of this year. Going back to INSPIRE, we, as probably other organizations that are managing some kind of special information in Europe, we are publishing this information using the standardized network services, special data services. So, for example, we are currently publishing around 32 terabytes of data with over 200 different types of network or special data services. But what we notice is that in some cases, it's not enough. So in general, this proved to be very successful. For example, last year, we recorded over 10 billion of requests to our services. So a lot, like almost 30 million of requests a day. So it's proved quite successful, but still there are some areas, there are some users who have actually problems integrating with using all those services. One group is, it's very surprising for me, but one group are IT specialists, but people who are IT specialists and they are not GIS specialists. So they work with, I don't know, SOAP, REST services and so on. They build a beautiful web application, but they have problems, for example, utilizing GML, WFS, things like that. They have, for example, problems understanding idea of coordinate reference systems. So for them, we need something special, something that is designed and made especially for them. This is one group. And the other group are like average users, average citizens like John Smith, who usually they use spatial information, for example, in car navigation system, using Google Maps, or using our geoportal when they, for example, want to find some information related to the to cadastral parcels and so on. But still, they are not using services because they are, again, too complex, too complicated. So we also need something that will help them utilize the spatial information. And like standard INSPIRE approach is like the standard way, old way. And we think in our organization that we need some new way of providing the spatial information. So what do we need? We need application with simple graphical user interfaces. We need some application and services with APIs. Some standardized but not spatial interfaces for IT specialists. For example, SOAP or REST, as I mentioned before. We need some simplified data model. We need some more popular spatial data exchange format or not spatial data exchange format like XML, JSON, CSV, shapefile, GeoJSON, and so on, instead, for example, of GML. And we also need some eye-catching simple map composition because people doesn't understand, sometimes cannot read the maps if they are too complex. And of course, we need, last but not least, we have to work on simplifying licensing and on opening our data. And some of the tasks are already addressed by European Commission. For example, European Commission works on data flattening, data models flattening, or on new standards for exchanging the spatial information like GeoJSON, for example. In our project, we are addressing 6 of those areas. Unfortunately, simplifying licensing and opening data, it's out of scope of the project because this is simply regulated by law in Poland. So we cannot change a law in basically IT project. So this can have to be done using other tools in other way. And so what we did, we created a lot of applications for users, for different kind of users in the project. And we'll go through at least some of those applications. The application, most of them are very easy. I think all of those applications, again, almost all of application will be available online. You don't need any plugins or whatever to install them. Just internet browser and internet connection. Of course, in case of some of these applications, you have to log in. So you have to provide the credentials. So for example, there are applications like Data Catalog and Data Manager. Data Manager allows users to publish their data set, the data set that they have. It can be anything. It can be like data set containing thousands of features and data set containing one feature. Yeah, for example, with the location of my favorite restaurant. It can be anything. And the other application would allow to find this information and find it in the fast and easy way, not necessarily using CSW catalogs. This is one application. Next application, I think, will be quite popular, should be quite popular. It's a map creating application, which, as its name suggests, it allows to create a map. And you can basically create a map within like 7-8 clicks of your mouse. It's enough to create a basic application. And you can, of course, publish this application, make it available. Other users can use this application, add some data, draw a sketch, and things like that. We also have mobile application. It's designed mainly to publish for viewing, for viewing maps created in a map creator on the mobile device. It's, for example, add some functionalities related to location services. We have a geocoding application that basically our users to geocode and reverse geocode their data against our register of geographical names, addresses, cadastral parcels, and administrative units. And what's interesting, you can see results of the geocoding on the fly on the map. We have some application for link open data. This is like a link open data manager that allows you to upload the data, analysis application for, like the name suggests, analyzing. It's like extended SparkQual endpoint, and RDF Explorer for navigating, for viewing the data, downloading data, and navigating throughout the link open data. Then we have application for spatial analysis, for quality validations, designed for users who want to upload their data, but beforehand they would like to check its quality. So this is the application designed for them. Error reporting application that is designed to like direct users' notification to the person or to organization that is responsible for particular data set. E-learning platform, it's, of course, we need something like this in order to learn, to allow users to learn how to use all those applications that we develop. Tabular app creator, it's again powerful application that allows to build some websites based using HTML forms. And these forms are built like on top of the business process that is maintained, that can be maintained in the or is maintained in an organization. So it can be very simple, one-step application just to fill the form and send the information, but it can be also like multi-step process. There is an application for cloud management. This is application for us, for the people who are going to work on manage or who will be managing all those applications. So this is like backend application. And we also manage in the project to update some of the application that already existed before we started this project. So we, for example, so we are currently working on, for example, updating our organizational INSPIRE framework. We have updated our national geoportal, and we, for example, integrated our identity provider with the national identity provider, so that user can log in to our system using national identifier or national identity provider. Summary, last slide. Just to quickly summarize my presentation. The CAPAP project, the main goal of the CAPAP project is to increase the spatial data utilization by citizen, business, and public administration. And of course, we have a lot of, I think, good quality data that is delivered using this good quality spatial data services, but it seems it's not enough. We need some dedicated API services, applications dedicated for particular users that basically can lower the entry threshold, skills entry threshold for those users. And we are doing this in CAPAP by launching launching a bunch of simple applications that supports different areas or different activities related to the spatial information and spatial data. Sorry. And last point, that most of this application will be publicly available before the end of 2018. Some of them are already available. You could see some links in my presentation. So That's all from my side. Thank you.